Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we love pop culture, and welcome to my new series here on the channel called First Impressions, where I take a look at this week's releases of first issues in a new series, and I'm gonna see if they made an impression and if they're worth checking out down the line. Now in this video, I'm gonna take a look at 5 issues, and I'm gonna kick it off with a comic from Marvel Comics with X-Men, The Trials of Magneto, Dial M for Wanda. Now, I want to preface off the top that I haven't been following along what's been going on in Marvel recently, but all you really need to know is that if you're familiar with these characters, you can jump right into The Trials of Magneto. My thoughts going into this issue was that it was going to be a fairly simple story of what's planned to be a 5-issue series. However, after finishing reading issue number 1, writer Leah Williams has created a murder mystery of the Scarlet Witch that is anything but a simple one. Now, we will get some backstory as to what caused the death of the Scarlet Witch, and the mounting evidence will point in the direction of Magneto. And Magneto, he doesn't help his cause in this situation, as he's very adamant in going forward with trying to resurrect the Scarlet Witch. Throughout this issue, there are plenty of appearances by characters both very famous and those that are lesser known to a mass audience. But the one thing that these characters all bring to the table are the wide variety of emotions they all deal with in the passing of the Scarlet Witch. The art in this issue is done by Lucas Wernick and the colors by Edgar Delgado, and they're extremely solid throughout, whether it's dealing with the emotional toll that these characters are dealing with, the sequences where these characters will use more than words to get their point across, and where I think it excelled is in the final pages of this book, where it focuses on the current status of the Scarlet Witch. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give issue number 1 of The Trials of Magneto an 8 out of 10. To be honest, of the 5 issues that I'm looking at this week, this was the one issue I was most on the fence about. But that's what the whole point of my First Impression series is about, giving those books I would have passed on an opportunity, and the creators definitely did a good enough job to bring me back for more. Now, even though we all realize that Magneto is the prime suspect and many are out for blood, will he indeed be the one who is guilty, or is there even someone more sinister setting up the Master of Magnetism to take the fall? Now, next up, we have a new comic book series from Boom Studios to look at with Eat the Rich, issue number 1. The story in Eat the Rich revolves around Aster, who is bringing his girlfriend Joey to meet his family, where they live in the very swank Crestful Bluffs. Now, as if meeting your significant other's parents for the first time isn't nerve-wracking enough, especially when this family not only comes from a different social standing and more importantly has a deeper dark secret, it can make it downright scary. Now, when this couple arrives at the luxurious home of Aster's family, not only will Joey have to deal with trying to fit in, but so will Aster, who is now clean and sober, as he will have to deal with the peer pressure of being at a function that pretty much when you hit the age of 12, you learn how to party. Now, throughout the day, Joey will begin to get clues that something just isn't right with Aster's family, but she'll try to do her best to accept the situation. That is until the party that evening, that during a roast, things become very uncomfortable. But it's when Joey tries to go out for some fresh air, that's when she'll realize that the help here provides more services than just cooking and cleaning, but also has to play in the family's sick and twisted games. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give issue number 1 of Eat the Rich a 7 out of 10. Writer Sarah Gailey does a good job of setting the tone for this new series by introducing us to characters and situations that we can identify with, just with an extra sick twist. The illustrations are done by Pius Back and the colors by Roman Titov, and much like the story, I think it's pretty good and fits the tone of this story. Now, is this book worth checking out? Yes, especially if you're into mysteries and psychological thrillers. Give Eat the Rich issue 1 a shot. Now, next up, we have a new series from Image Comics called Second Chances. The premise behind Second Chances is that with the right amount of cash and a good enough reason, LeBlanc, the man behind the firm Second Chances, can give you an entire new identity, allowing you to completely disappear off the grid. Now, while he can make you disappear, he does have standards as to the people he does help. So if you're a serial killer, you need not apply. However, if you're truly a person that deserves a second chance, he is your man if you can foot the bill. But other than that, this is all I really got from this issue. We will meet a woman named Emma, who's a secretary working for a man named Winslow Gray, who's in the process of digging up dirt on her boss, who's definitely into some inappropriate things. But as she digs deep, she is confronted by a woman named Miss Nobody, who wants to bring her the truth that her parents are involved in some pretty bad stuff. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give issue number 1 of Second Chances a 4 out of 10. Now, on the positive side, even though the entire issue isn't black and white, the art done by Max Bertoloni is really solid and fits the tone of this story. However, so much of this book just doesn't flow well. So unfortunately for me, Second Chance is a one and done. Next up, we have another series to look at from Marvel Comics with Warhammer 40,000 Sisters of Battle. Now, my only experience with the Warhammer franchise was that I played the video game Space Marine back on the Xbox 360, and I remember it being a lot of fun. But other than that, my knowledge of this series is very limited. Now, there's just some times when you begin reading a comic, much like watching a TV show or a movie, you just know this isn't your cup of tea, and that's how I felt reading this issue, as the dialogue and the story really didn't interest me at all. And I actually stopped reading this issue a few pages before the end, as I just couldn't muster the interest to finish. Now, this doesn't mean that this issue is not good, I'm just not the intended audience. So my only advice I could give for Warhammer 40,000's Sisters of Battle, unless you're a fan of this series, you're going to want to consider skipping this one. And we're going to close out this week's reviews with yet another comic book series from Marvel with Kang the Conqueror, issue number 1. Issue 1 sees Kang traveling to meet a younger version of himself, that is Nathaniel Richards, here in the 31st century. His main objective is to teach Richards the path he believes he should follow so that he will not have to suffer the same setbacks that he has. Now, over the course of this issue, the two will time travel to various time periods, with the main place being exactly 1 year to the location where the asteroid will wipe out the dinosaurs. And while Kang will try to teach him many skills over this 1 year period, he tells Richard that the most important lesson is to never love. But when Richards meets a woman named Addie, he throws that advice out the window. Now, not only will he have feelings for Addie, but also for the tribe, and argues with Kang that they need to be saved before the impact. And when Richards admits to Kang that he truly loves them, let's just say, not only does Kang take it out on Richards, but then also takes him to get a front row seat as he unleashes his anger. From here, Richards will seem to play the role of pupil, but will wait until the perfect time to get revenge on Kang and begin his journey as the Conqueror. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving issue number 1 of Kang the Conqueror a 6 out of 10. Now, the character Kang certainly has some buzz around him, with him recently being featured in Loki and him being the main baddie in Avengers Mech Strike. So it's definitely the perfect time for Marvel to strike with this 5-issue miniseries. And while I do think there's some pretty decent scenes in here, especially when young Richards gets fed up with Kang's rules, unfortunately a good portion of this issue drags in my opinion. Now, while I continue on with this series, I don't think so on a monthly basis. I think this might be one of those stories that I wait until all 5 issues are released and then check it out later down the line when I have some free time. Alright guys, well, that's going to wrap up this First Impressions comic book review video. Now, out of these 5 comics, did you read any of them? And if you did, what are your thoughts? Now, if you guys are regulars here to the channel, you guys know I cover a lot of independent comics. I really do enjoy those stories more than the mainstream ones, so it really kills me when I have to give an independent comic like Second Chances a low score, but I have to keep it real. Now, as far as mainstream comics, like from Marvel, Magneto was a comic book I was going to completely skip, but it ended up being my favorite one this week. Now, which one was your guys' favorite and which one was your least favorite? Comment down below. And guys, if you like videos like this, make sure you stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.